Let's listen to Felipe Morales talk about his core value of humility and a time when he strayed from that true north in his life.
Felipe Morales is generally a humble man, as you will hear in his voice. In fact, he was hesitant about writing and reading aloud because of his challenges with English. But his humility failed him once, and he's never forgotten it. Writing for our series was his way of ensuring it doesn't happen again. Here's Felipe Morales with his essay for This I Believe.
A few years ago, I took a sightseeing trip to Washington, D.C. I saw many of our nation's treasures, and I also saw a lot of our fellow citizens on the street, unfortunate ones, like panhandlers and homeless folks. Standing outside of the Ronald Reagan Center, I heard a voice say, "Can you help me?" When I turned around, I saw an elderly blind woman with her hand extended. In a natural reflex, I reached into my pocket, pulled out all my loose change, and placed it on her hand, without even looking at her. I was annoyed at being bothered by a beggar. But the blind woman smiled and said, "I don't want your money. I just need help finding the post office." In an instant, I realized what I had done. I acted with prejudice. I judged another person simply for what I assumed she had to be. I hated what I saw in myself. This incident reawakened my core beliefs. It reaffirmed that I believe in humility, even though I had lost it for a moment. The thing I had forgotten about myself is that I am an immigrant. I left Honduras and arrived at the U.S. at the age of 15. I started my new life with 2 suitcases, my brother and sister, and a strong, no-nonsense mother. Through the years, I have been a dishwasher, roofer, cashier, mechanic, pizza delivery driver, among many other humble jobs. And eventually, I became a network engineer. In my own life, I have experienced many open acts of prejudice. I remember a time, at age 17, I was a bus boy, and I heard a father tell his little boy that if he did not do well in school, he will end up like me. I have also witnessed the same treatment of family and friends, so I know what it's like, and I should have known better. But now, living in my American middle-class lifestyle, it is too easy to forget my past, to forget who I am, where I have been, and lose sight of where I want to be going. The blind woman on the streets of Washington, D.C., cured me of my self-induced blindness. She reminded me of my belief in humility and to always keep my eyes and heart open. By the way, I hope that lady to the post office, and in writing this essay, I hope to thank her for the priceless lesson.
Well, what do you think? Is Felipe Morales a compass follower, or is his compass broken? I think we'd agree that he has identified his core values and has likely allowed them to be visible to others in his lifetime. But he's a perfect example of why we must be vigilant about keeping focused on our true north if we are to remain influential as leaders. Let's listen again to Bill George for a moment, talking about what leads people down the path toward a truly broken compass.
I think it's really important in knowing who you are, to be well-grounded, and that takes a program of development. But many people don't do that, and they get themselves into top-level leadership roles, and they realize they're an imposter, or they aren't well-grounded in terms of their values and leadership principles and ethical boundaries, and so they fall prey to little by little, bit by bit, deviating from their values. Or they may be out seeking glory, money, fame, power, and success.
Perhaps you recognize some of these faces whose compasses have been broken somewhere along the way. We can't say for sure what the core value of any person is. We can only look at the fruit of their lives and make one of 2 conclusions. Either their core values truly are self-focused, or they have done what we just heard Bill talk about. They have deviated bit by bit, seduced by outside influences, and have finally lost sight of their true north. Our hope in showing these examples is to underscore that identifying our core values is not enough. Even if our core values truly are reflective of the person we want to be, we must adhere to them consistently. Let's take a look at some of those faces and see how many you recognize. And unfortunately, it wouldn't be difficult to come up with many fine examples of leaders who have lost our trust. We lost trust in these people because somewhere along the line, they didn't adhere to the core values that society expected of them, or those which that they had led us to believe were theirs.
When you profess to having a certain set of values, you are effectively telling the world that this is what you will do. Like a parent who gains the trust of a child, each time you follow through with what you say you will do, you gain the trust of the people around you. Please take a moment to read this quote from John Hawkins. Over time, we stack the stones of earned trust one on top of another, and we build influence. We develop a pattern of reliable character, building credibility as a leader. Now, let's take a moment to talk about some people who did follow their true north. Do you recognize some of these compass followers? If not, don't worry, we won't keep you wondering about their stories. But first, let's pause to listen to Bill George again. The interviewer has just asked him what the most important thing we should know about values and leadership is.
I'd never tell anyone what the value should be, but I think you need to know who you are, and then you stay true to that. And you never know what someone's values are until they've been tested under pressure. It's not enough to just list your values. You've got to test those values under pressure, because that's when people deviate.